right, clase.
Yes, sir.
Oh, let's get fancy and do the Spanish. Clase.
Sí.
Activity numero dos
Is
is the properties and rules.
the properties and rules.
So let's check them out. This is going to be kind of a quick activity. When we're looking at this, there are several rules and or properties for our zeros and ones. And here's our first one. The multiplication property for 1. 1 times 6 equals 6. 6 times 1 equals 6.
6 times 1 equals 6.
The division rule for 1. 8 divided by 1 equals 8. 8 divided by 8 equals 1. The zero property. 6 times 0 equals 0. 0 times 6 equals 0. Division rule for 0. 0 divided by 6 equals 0. 6 divided by 0 is...
Impossible.
We've reviewed these, but I'm curious for a point. My multiplication ones, all they did was they flip-flopped my factors. Who remembers when things are moving, when they're just flip-flopping, it starts with a C, what is the name for that property? When I flip-flop my factors, so I'm saying 1 times 6 is the same as 6 times 1. Those numbers moved, it starts with a C. Keegan, you think you got it?
Something like...
It's kind of long. It's actually 4 syllables. Maddie, you think you remember? Anybody? That's okay. It's the commutative property. What is it?
The commutative property.
So, today we're going to learn one a little bit different. Are you listening? Put your tools out to the side so that you can really be listening. I want to teach you about the associative property. What is it?
Associative property.
If you're associating things, you're like kind of generalizing and grouping them. So I can associate all of you as my Mrs. Scholl's 3rd grade class. I also have you guys associated into groups like your pink locker group and your gray locker group and your blue locker group. Or I have you in restroom groups 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? You're associated or grouped that way. Capiche? So when we are doing the associative property of multiplication, we're actually taking our factors that we know can move around because of the commutative property, and we're grouping them differently with these parentheses marks. Let me show you what I mean. It says when you group factors in different ways, the product stays the
Same.
but the parentheses tell you which numbers to multiply first. And that's a huge deal in math. So, class. I will say this a lot. Those parentheses, those hug marks. Parentheses means do this first. What does it mean?
Do this first.
Show me with your hands what the parentheses marks look like. They're like 2 banana peels. I should see everybody doing it. So if I'm talking about parentheses, they're curved. They gotta be curved. And parentheses means do this first. What does it mean?
Do this first.
So here's what we do. If they had 3 times 2 in those hug marks or in the parentheses, I'm just waiting. If they had 3 times 2 in the hug marks in the parentheses, I'm doing it first. And I drew these little lines or a caret down saying, okay, here's my first step that I did. I know that 3 times 2 is 6. So they solved that and they went down below. They're like, okay, I grouped those together, that's 6. Then they have to still do the next part. They took care of the 3 times 2. Now we need to take 6 times 5. Ooh, count by fives really quick for me. 5, 10.
15, 20, 25, 30, 30.
6 times. Oh, we gotta stop at 6. Ready? 5.
10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
6 times 5 is?
30.
I want you to try on your desk this one. Remember, do the parentheses step first, the 6 times 1 first, and then multiply it by the next number. Class. I kind of threw you into that pretty quick, so let's go through this one together. Are you ready? You can thank Mr. Paisel for challenging your brains a little sooner than I would have. Which part do I need to do first?
6 times 1.
Good. Emerson, how did you know that?
Because they have the parenthesis mark.
And parentheses means
Do it
do
first.
this
First.
first. So Gunnar, you're going to get kind of caught up in speed mode here. 6 times 1 is 6. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. What do I have to do next? That's not my whole equation. Rylan, what else is in that equation for me?
2 times 6. There's 2 times 6.
There's still a 2. So I've got to drop that down and think, what is 2 times 6? Think. Oh, I see Kevin's got it. I see Dax has it. Thank you for your GTA, guys. Rylan's got it. 2 times 6. Go ahead and tell me, guys.
12.
Good. That's what goes in my product box. That's my final answer. We're going to practice a whole bunch of these because this associative property is a big deal. You will be doing things like this associative property all the way through middle school and high school. Is that kind of insane? Let's do another one. Erase. Here's your next practice problem. 4 times 2 times 2. So think about what you're going to do first. And then what's your next step? And I should see everybody getting this down on their board or their desk because everybody's practicing this. That means that if you're playing with water bottles right now, they go down. I should not see it in your mouth or in your hands because we're working. They need to be up on the floor. So how do you know which part goes first from that equation? Hocus pocus.
Everybody vote.
I'm going to bring my man Hendrix up. And I'm going to let him show off for a minute because he had really smart work. Bring your marker up. Hendrix, what was the first step that you did? And everybody's looking because you're going to see if you did this too. And you're going to be showing me your gestures like, do you agree with him? Or are you thinking something different? So Hendrix, what step did you do first here? Parentheses first. Perfect. So draw that carrot because parentheses means do this first. You can actually do it. Go ahead and draw that carrot mark down. Because that's totally what he did on his desk, which was really smart. And 4 times 2 was added on there. I love how he's formatting this because this is exactly how it goes on our homework and our quizzes, okay? Now the next part that I think is tricky when we're very okay. Hendrix already did 4 times 2. So we already touched those numbers, they're good to go. Now we needed to bring down the times 2. We've got a new equation. You think you got it? Go ahead and put your answer in that box. I want all of my friends looking, watching, seeing if you think the same thing, if you agree, or if you're thinking something different. Let's have our Tuesday times. Show me your gestures. Did you get the same answer? Do you agree? Are you thinking something different? Hendrix is correct. Now this is the chance. Hendrix, you were being my mouse because you're being like a math rock star today. I'm curious. I saw a couple thinking different. So Hendrix is going to answer your questions, and I'll help you out if you have any help. Okay? But raise your hand if you have a question. Like, why did you do this? Or what does this part mean? And he'll call on you and let you ask your question.
Yeah, I thought it was 4 times 8. What? It's 2 times 2.
Because he's saying that 4 times 2 equals 8.
And then 2
That was the
times
first
2
part.
is 4.
But this part was grouped, right? So Hendrix was right. He said 4 times 2 is 8, so he took care of that part. Now the only part that's left in the equation is taking that answer and multiplying it by 2. Does that answer your question? Were there any other questions? Let's do another practice problem. 2 claps for Mr. Hendricks. And erase. Here's another one. 7 times 1 times 5. Working on your desk, and I'm going to bring up a mathematician to work it. You can get started on your own, honey. You got this. Write it just like this so that you guys can draw the carrot down like Hendricks did on the last problem. Oh my goodness. You would think it's easy, but for some reason I cannot get my paper to line up. 7 times 1 times 5.
It's basically 7 times 5.
Oh, is it? I don't know. Show your work. Don't forget to do the parentheses part first, right? Hocus pocus. Come on up with your marker, Savannah, because she said she had some really smart work right off the bat. Actually, almost all of my desks were really spot on. So, go ahead and talk us through what you did, Savannah.
I took these 2, and I know that 1 is, it doesn't do anything, so it's 5.
Okay, how much?
And then I took the 7 and times that 5.
Go ahead.
Equals 30. And then I got
35.
I got 42.
You know what I loved about Savannah's work is she wrote this equation exactly like this first. She didn't write 1 times 5 equals 5 and then 7 times 5 something, because when we start rewriting it, that's when it gets confusing. Drawing that carrot and following their equation makes it so that it stays nice and clear. Does anyone have questions for Savannah?
J.
She did get 35.
I got 42.
She got 35.
Hendrix.
Hmm.
I got the same answer, but I added 7 and 1.
Ah, so in this particular one, if you grouped the 7 and the 1 first, you would get the same answer, but that is not always the case. So make sure that the parentheses part you do first.
River.
I drew 2 lines. I drew the multiplication line too.
That works. Did you get the same answer then? Sweet. Gunnar, I heard you said that you got 42. I think maybe you did 7 times 6. Were you counting by 5s for this one? So let's go ahead. It's 7 times 5, so let's count by 5 7 times, everybody. 5.
10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35.
We got it. We just got to double check those facts. 2 claps for mathematician Savannah. I'm going to give you 2 more practice, just 1 more practice problem on your own. And then that will move us on. Don't worry. You guys are going to like this one. 6 times 0 times 7. And I'll erase my stuff. 6 times 0 times 7. Let's see how you do. This one right here. 6 times 0 times 7. Oh my goodness gracious.
It's 0.
I'm not a fan of my projector setup this year.
0. I can't see.
Sorry.
It's literally
Good job,
my
Rylan.
answer.
Oh, it's your work, not your neighbor's software.
It's 0.
Online friends, this is going to be my problem check with you on your work today. So, good luck. Okay, now that you've practiced solving now that you've practiced solving problems with the associative property, we need to know how to read story problems and write our own associative property equation. Are you ready for it? Here it is. I want to look at numero once. There are 3 tables in the library. Each table has 2 piles of books on it. If there are 3 books in each pile, how many books are on the table? I want to work through you guys with a picture first so that we can come up with our equation, okay? There's 3 tables in the library, friends. Does that sound like, if I'm going to draw something, what does that sound like?
3 circles.
3 circles. There's 3 groups, right? So here's my 3 tables. And what else do I know? Keegan.
There's 2 piles of books.
Ooh, there's 2 piles of books. So here's pile 1, pile 2. Pile 1, pile 2, pile 1, pile 2. What else do I know? Maddie.
You know that there are 3 tables.
We already got that down. We got 3 tables. We got 2 piles on each table. What else?
You know that there
Yeah. So we figured out there's 3 tables. There's 2 piles on each table. And what else do we see up there? Having fun, friend?
there's 3 books in each pile.
Very good. Each pile's got 3 books. I'm just going to put the number 3. Third grade. Let's start with how many books are on one table. Who can give me an expression to represent those 2 piles with 3 books in each pile? And that's going to be the first part of my equation. Savannah?
I know that 3 times 3 is
3 times 3 or 3 plus 3?
3.
Ah, how can I write it as a multiplication since I'm doing that associative property? Because it kind of looks like I got 2 groups of 3 here.
It's 36. If it's
How would I represent 2 groups of 3? 2 times 3. That's going to be my first part. So my part that says do this first, please write with me. I have a parentheses mark, and my first thing for one table is going to be 2 groups of 3, or 2 times 3. Because that tells me how many are on one table. Okay? I should see that down. And I want it just like this. I don't want equal signs. I don't want it on its own. I just want that expression inside of parentheses.
Do we have that?
So we've got to have those hug marks. That's the most important part.
Do we have?
2 times 3 in parentheses. Now that's just one table. How many times are we going to need to have that amount?
2 more
River?
times. 2 more times.
2 more times, or a total of how many times? How many times total? 3, right? Because there's 3 tables. So we're going to take this many books, and we want it for 3 tables. So I can say I want it how many times?
3.
3 times. So I can say times
3.
3 equals
Unknown.
unknown. Do you see how that's going to represent? Each table's got 2 groups of 3, and we need that many books times the 3 tables. Can somebody help me solve this? Olivia. Very good. Parentheses tells me 2 times 3 is first. Class. What is 2 times 3?
18.
2 times 3. 6. Very good. Then I need to multiply that by my 3 tables. Let's do our Jingle Bells 3s. Ready? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18.
18.
There's 18 what?
Books.
18 You're gonna probably have a practice problem like that today in your homework.
Yippee.
Yippee skippy.